Picture the vast, unforgiving sands of 7th century Arabia. You can almost feel the shifting winds, right? A brand new empire is rising incredibly fast under the blistering sun. Today, in this explainer, we're zeroing in on one of history's most awe-inspiring, frankly fearsome, and deeply complex leaders. A man whose very name literally struck terror into the hearts of massive, established empires, yet whose profound personal humility creates a striking contrast to literally everything we think we know about leadership.
Okay, let's dive right into this. When you think of absolute power today, what immediately comes to mind? Well, we usually picture massive wealth, total immunity from consequences, or maybe an unyielding iron fist. But I really want you to hold on to this central question as we journey through our source material today. What does true power actually look like? We're going to examine the terrifying, immense authority of the second Caliph of Islam, Hazrat Umar, and we'll contrast that with a moment of such raw, heartbreaking vulnerability that it completely redefines the very concept of power itself.
Section 1. The Ultimate Verdict.
To really understand this man, we've got to start with a high-stakes conflict. Let's ground ourselves in Medina. There was this bitter land dispute between a Muslim man and a Jewish man, and it had just been brought before Prophet Muhammad. After patiently reviewing all the evidence, the truth became as clear as day. The Prophet, who stands as the ultimate symbol of mercy and justice in this history, ruled entirely impartially. He delivered the verdict in favor of the Jewish man simply because the truth was on his side. You see, Islamic justice didn't look at the religious identity of the parties. It looked only at who actually held the right. But the Muslim man, whose faith was really only a name, was completely blinded by arrogance. His ego just could not accept the idea that he could lose a ruling to a Jewish man.
So, hatching a bit of a conspiracy, this totally dissatisfied man went straight to the first caliph, Abu Bakr, hoping for a different outcome. But Abu Bakr looked him dead in the eye and delivered a firm reality check. He told him the decision of the Prophet is the absolute final truth of this world. There is no higher court. But still burning with arrogance and absolutely refusing to accept the verdict, the man went searching for yet another answer. And this time, he walked right up to the door of Hazrat Umar.
The man repeated his story, complaining that he, a Muslim, wasn't favored. Umar listened in absolute, chilling silence. No anger on his face, no long, drawn-out debate. He just calmly told the man to wait, turned around, and walked inside his house. When the door opened again, Umar didn't have a pen or paper. He had a massive gleaming sword. Before the man could even twitch, Umar swung the blade, severing the man's head from his body. Standing over him, Umar's voice thundered with terrifying authority. The one who rejects the Prophet's decision forfeits their right to live. His devotion was so absolute that defying that ultimate justice was simply unforgivable.
Section 2. Fear and Divine Mercy. That single, decisive swing of the sword cemented a reputation so immense that the greatest enemies literally trembled at his name. It was actually said that even the devil would change his path to avoid walking on the same street as him. Which brings us to this heart-pounding sequence right on the streets of Medina. Imagine this, a Jewish man is walking alone, and he's carrying a bottle of illegal wine. Now in Umar's realm, brazenly carrying prohibited wine on the streets, that was basically akin to inviting death. Suddenly, the man looks up and sees the Lion of Islam himself, Hazrat Umar, walking straight toward him. The man's blood ran ice cold. He was completely trapped. Sweat is just dripping down his face as sheer panic sets in.
With absolutely no physical escape possible, the desperate man looked to the sky. In his total, absolute helplessness, he engaged in what's known as tawbah. He made this pure, terrified, yet entirely sincere vow to Allah, right in his heart. He prayed, "Save me from Omar's hands today, and I promise I will never touch a single drop of wine for the rest of my life."
And this brilliantly illustrates the incredible dynamic between earthly authority and divine mercy. Omar, with his piercing gaze, stops the man and demands to know exactly what was in the bottle. Terrified, the man lied. He said milk. Omar, sensing the panic, commands him to turn the bottle upside down and pour it onto the earth. The man, fully expecting his own execution, trembling, opens the lid. But as the liquid poured out, it wasn't the dark red stain of wine. It was pure, fresh, white milk. The source material tells us that divine mercy instantly transformed the liquid, accepting the man's sincere repentance, all while entirely preserving the terrifying law-enforcing authority of Omar. Amazing, right?
Section 3. The Caliph and the Woman.
Okay, so we've seen the sword, we've seen the terror. Now I want you to imagine a freezing, dead silent desert night outside a broken-down hut. Outside this hut stands the very same man whose name makes entire empires tremble. But he's not holding a sword. He is standing in the freezing dark, weeping like a helpless child. Why? Well, because inside the hut, a frail old woman is bitterly complaining to him. completely unaware of who he actually is, saying that Umar has forgotten her. She is coldly venting, saying the Caliph is completely failing in his duties to care for her in her absolute poverty.
No, what's really interesting about this moment is Umar's inner psychology. He wasn't angry at her disrespect. Not at all. He was profoundly terrified. He felt as though the entire sky had literally crashed down onto his shoulders. I mean, he was leading an empire of 2 million square miles, but all he could think about was the Day of Judgment. He thought, if this helpless woman complains to God that I neglected her, all my armies, all my earthly status will mean absolutely nothing. I will have to answer for this.
As Umar stood there, silently taking her harsh scolding, an unexpected figure suddenly emerged from the dark desert path. It was Hazrat Ali, one of Umar's closest companions. Seeing the Caliph weeping outside a hut in the middle of the night, Ali rushed forward and greeted him with his official title. His voice echoed in the quiet desert. Assalamu alaikum, ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Commander of the Faithful.
The second those words hit the air, the ground beneath the old woman seemed to just vanish. The realization slammed into her like a freight train. The man she had just been fiercely insulting, the man she had called useless and neglectful right to his face, was none other than Hazrat Umar himself, the man whose very shadow terrified lions. Her hoarse voice just caught in her throat. She began to violently tremble, fully expecting to be struck down on the spot for her insolence.
Section 4. True Burden of Power.
She fell to her knees, begging for her life. But look at how the ultimate enforcer of justice actually reacts here. No sword, no anger, only profound sadness. He told her she had absolutely no reason to apologize and that she was completely right. Agreeing with her harsh critique, Omar reached deeply into his own garments. Notice, he didn't pull from the state treasury. From his own personal pocket, he pulled out 40 heavy gold coins. With tears literally dripping from his beard onto the gold, he gently placed them into her trembling hands.
He begged her, please, take these coins and forgive me for my negligence. Forgive me today, so that my Lord might forgive me tomorrow. So the crucial point is this. This is exactly how the historical sources reconcile the fierce enforcer of justice with the weeping servant of God. True power in this framework isn't about arrogance or acting without consequence. It's about a crushing absolute responsibility to every single living soul under your care, driven by the ultimate fear of divine accountability.
And you know, this unique blend of terrifying authority and crippling humility didn't just stay buried in the sands of Medina. Word of Umar's astonishing leadership and the raw truth of his justice began echoing thousands of miles away, eventually reaching the marble halls of the massive Roman Empire. The Roman scholars and emperors were utterly puzzled. Like, how are these desert dwellers expanding so rapidly? This entirely sets the stage for an epic historical clash of knowledge and the looming legendary conquest of Jerusalem. But how does this desert wisdom actually hold up against the philosophical giants of Rome? Well, that's a mystery that definitely leaves us incredibly eager to find out what happens next.